Hello and welcome. Well, Leadership Watch, two odd things have happened to a couple of renowned world leaders recently. Number one, Keir Starmer. Those arson attacks on property related to him, up front, horrible, worrying, scary, reprehensible, but odd as well. What's going on there? Apparently, three young men, models, whatever that means. How did they find the addresses? How did they get that information? And what was the motivation, more importantly? Now, some people suggest it was Russia. Why would Russia do that? I don't know. Is it a threat? Is it a warning? Potentially. Pretty odd and sloppy way to go about things though, but maybe that's the point. Plausible deniability, or maybe it's someone else trying to frame Russia. Churchill's all the way down, and if it is to do with national security, we will probably hear nothing about it, and I understand that, if it is to do with national security. And the other thing that's happened recently is, well, the domestic between Emanuel Macron and his wife, Brigitte. What was that about? Well, who knows, but it was definitely a falling out. And the odd thing was how it was initially denied, or perhaps I shouldn't say odd, because perhaps I should say predictable. The predictable denial. And I'll come back to that in a moment. But when you look at the video, I mean, this is so obviously a domestic, but it's really bad-tempered, or at least Macron's wife is annoyed. It looks like a hand shoving, or maybe two, and then he turns, is mortified when he realizes the plane door is open, pushes against a wall to propel himself out of shot as quickly as possible because he's realized that people are watching, and then composes himself as he appears again. He and his wife begin to walk down the steps of the plane, and he, I think, tries to take her hand or arm or something. She's having nothing to do with it. She's obviously raging. And people have said that, you know, his fist was clenched as he walked along, and he was angry. That could also have been stress and frustration, but yes, definitely could be anger. What was interesting though is that the Élysée Palace kind of quickly said it was fake. This was footage which was not real. And to be fair, it could have been, but what they then said was that it was fake footage and it was Russia, or probably Russia. Isn't that interesting? Russia being blamed twice. And then, of course, someone or a few people pointed out the fact that a lot of individuals saw what was happening, and there were people videoing the event. So then it was changed to they were goofing around. And then it was changed to, well, you know, some couples have differences of opinion, and Macron, of course, now is blustering through it. Oh, so what? You know, we had a domestic.
Nous sommes en train de nous chamailler et plutôt de plaisanter avec mon épouse.
We were squabbling and I was joking with my wife, and I'm surprised by it. And it becomes some sort of geoplanetary catastrophe.
But for me, the interesting thing was the immediate knee-jerk reaction, which was to blame Russia. And is that what we're seeing in terms of Keir Starmer? Again, I don't know, but there are also times when, if it really isn't to do with national security, I think it is important that we understand what is going on with these people. They hold enormous sway over our lives. And as I've said before, they're in a club that we're not in. And frankly, I never want to be in. And they are a couple of, let's say, eccentric characters, to say the least. There was the recent meeting between Keir and Macron and a third party, and people said, oh, it was something on the table. Maybe that was a substance or something. Who knows? I don't know. But that sleight of hand that Macron was doing, I remember him doing this before when he was wearing a very expensive watch, and he's basically talking about austerity, and he puts his hands under the table and takes the watch off and then reappears again, like as if no one noticed.
Dans la République. Et il y a les blocages, et les blocages, il faut pouvoir les lever quand ils empêchent l'activité normale. Et c'est pourquoi d'ailleurs, c'est pourquoi j'ai demandé au gouvernement d'essayer au maximum de négocier et ensuite de réquisitionner. Ce que nous avons pu faire sur les ordures ménagères, par exemple, dans certains...
They didn't notice that bit of paper on the table, whatever it was. They didn't notice your wife's hand or hands on your face. No, we do notice. We do notice things like that. Glorious leaders. And I think that it's important, you know, that we, wherever possible, would like explanations, because we need to understand the character of the people who are in charge.